to use the microphones and to speak in them. I keep forgetting. Thanks, Ian. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And our first order of business is to approve the minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to either the July minutes or the August minutes?
My name was spelled a little bit incorrectly on the last one, but it's not a huge
I tried
error.
really
It's
hard
totally,
with that.
There's a lot of L's. There's just an L missing in the middle, but that's okay.
We'll make that correction.
Other than that, though, that's fine.
So pending that correction, are there any other changes? Yeah, please talk into the microphone.
No changes.
Because when we play the video, then if you're not talking right into it, it doesn't come out. Yeah. Do I have a motion to approve if there are no changes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are passed. So we have no public to comment, so we'll move on. I have a number of announcements. I want to make the first one an introduction of our new student ambassador from Radnor Township High School, and her name is Emma Torres. And Emma, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest and connection with this?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you for having me. So again, my name is Emma Torres. I'm a senior at Radnor High School, and I'm looking to major in environmental science. I've always been interested in just the natural world and biodiversity, and I recently kind of got more into it. I went on a trip to Costa Rica for volunteer and service in biodiversity, and it really just completely committed me to environmental science as a whole.
Thank you, Emma. And although you're a non-voting member, we appreciate any input you have. So please feel free to speak up. Thank you. So another announcement is the first of the EAC lecture series will be held October 5th at 6:30 via Zoom. Gwen Nolan of Mother Compost will present a beginner's guide to composting, and Donnell will be introducing it. I hope all of you can please sign up and attend. It's been on the newsletter. I've asked the library to publish it, but they didn't even respond to me, so I don't know where else it will show up. But if you'd like to pass it on to anyone you know, as well as attend, I'd appreciate that. Donnell, do you have anything to add?
Gwen has been a great connection for me personally already, so I'm really thankful that she offered to do this. And I do hope that if we get approval for the lecture series and honorarium, that we could retroactively honor her with the fee. She is doing this as a courtesy. And I'm also going to ask her to talk a little bit about their pickup service so that residents who don't have the ability to compost at their homes can learn a little bit about how their pickup service works.
Okay, thank you, Donnell.
Margie, I have a question or two. Will we have a feel beforehand how many people are attending?
Yes, there's a registration.
Okay.
So they'll know exactly, and Ian will sort of be, watching and following any questions.
Right.
And that. So,
And I'm just curious, a Zoom versus in-person?
she requested Zoom.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is good because we can record it,
I think she was willing to do it in person, but with the dates and stuff, she said it would probably be better to do it.
Right.
Especially a weeknight evening.
Right.
She said there's better attendance virtually in her experience.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
And she does these quite often, so.
Okay.
I'm hoping in the future we can get, Saturday mornings and
Right.
in person.
Right, well, we
Bring
do
more
have,
people
we
together.
did have some dates, but they didn't work for
Yeah,
Gwen,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so, and this was, we'll get more into it as the time goes, I think. Yeah. Anything else? Another announcement I want to make, even though it doesn't have to really do with the EAC, I hadn't heard anything in the news about it, and just in case you all haven't heard, that in Pennsylvania, voter registration is now automatic. Do you all know that? Yeah, so.
Oh, at the DMV?
Yep, when you renew or get your license, you're automatically registered to vote unless you opt out. So I think that's kind of good. That's
Yeah,
kinda
there
nice.
was, I just got renewed a couple of weeks ago, and it
Okay.
essentially said, I think it just asked like if you were already registered.
Okay,
So if you select yes, it doesn't ask you anything else.
okay, yeah.
So I'm sure some people are getting around it, but it is encouraging.
Yeah, I wish they did organ donation that way. In a lot of countries, you're automatically in unless you opt out. So it's a lot harder to opt out, and you kind of look like a mean person.
Or if you can't speak anymore because you're dead.
So this, yeah, I thought this was good news. Are there any other announcements?
I will announce that I'm organizing the 3rd annual Philly Plus Swap, which is a clothing swap for Greater Philadelphia. It is happening on October 29th at Temple University this year. And the entire principle around it is to reduce textile waste and also provide clothing for people who need it. And just spread the word a little bit about that. We have an Instagram. It's at Philly Plus Swap. And you can follow us.
Okay, thanks. Do you have to bring clothes, or can some people just come and get them?
We ask everyone to bring clothes, but it's not an item for item exchange.
Okay.
It is only for plus size people. So we ask everyone to bring at least 5 items. If you don't have it, we're not going to turn you away. And you can take more or less than you've brought. And then we actually have a textile recycling partner this year, which is really exciting. So all of the leftover clothes will be sorted by an organization called HelpSee. And they will sort it into donatable clothes that will benefit the wardrobe in Philadelphia and surrounding areas. And then anything that is unsuitable for donation will be recycled.
Okay. All right. That's good. All right, anything else? Okay, thank you. Just a brief synopsis of the Fall Festival. I think it went pretty well. Eugenia and Ray were there the first 2 hours, and Carol and I the second 2. We got 10 friends to sign up, which is pretty good, you know. They didn't get anything for it other than the sunflower seeds. And we had 3 people ask for more information about the yard program, whom I responded to, but I haven't heard back from them yet. So, yeah, we had a lot of people stop by, and we donated freely the sunflower seeds. So, does anyone have anything to add? That would be, yeah, Eugenia, do you have anything to add?
I thought it was a great opportunity. I look forward next year to our table looking a little more like everybody else is there.
Professional.
Yeah.
It was, I think people might have felt sorry for us and came by.
Or been afraid of us and kept going. I wasn't quite sure. No, but a lot of nice people came up, and yeah, I think it was well worth it. How early did you have to leave because of the rain?
I think it was we started packing up about 3:15. So, yeah, it was about a half hour early. And Carol was still giving out the sunflower seeds. But yeah, we didn't have a cover, so we did close up early. Okay, thank you. What else? So our update from the green team from Dan?
Yeah, 2 things. Practical Energy Solutions has been selected as the advisor who will conduct a energy audit of the municipal buildings, including this building, the Public Works building, and the on up at the Sulpizio Gymnasium. This is a firm that we hired. They were commissioned about 4 years ago to write the energy transition plan for the township, which involved setting goals of renewable energy and energy conservation that were matching the Ready for 100 goals of 2035 for renewable heat, renewable electricity, and then renewable heat and transportation by 2050. So we're quite pleased with that. I don't know, Moira, whether you know if there's a date for the audit to start?
No, the Board of Commissioners just approved them to move forward, so I imagine it's in the works being scheduled.
Okay.
They tend to, once they get approval, they like to get moving, so I'll notify you as soon as I know anything.
Great. Yeah, they have experience in advising about installation of renewable energy systems, solar panels, charging stations. So that will be included in the audit. Also, I was pleased to hear after a meeting with Steve Norsini, the township engineer, with Practical Energy Solutions and the other firm, that we're going to be, the township's going to be trying out the F-150 Lightning and Chevy Blazer electric vehicles for the police department. Do you have a date when they're going to be brought in? Okay.
No, I think it's, they're sort of in the research stage.
Right.
Checking them out.
Right.
But we're committed to it.
So it's a special service vehicle, pickup truck, and a Pursuit SUV, all electric. Probably with acceleration that'll beat anything on the road except maybe a Tesla. And that's it.
That's great. That sounds great. One of us will have to make a quick escape and see if they can catch us.
I want to test drive it, or I want to test ride. I'll ride in it. We really need to get the township up on the reel making on Instagram. We could make a reel of my test ride in the electric vehicle. I think our new student ambassador would be great as a social media person. I'm giving you jobs already, sorry.
No, exciting. I love it.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Are you done?
Yeah.
Can I ask, are there any other townships in Delaware County that have electric township or police vehicles yet? Maybe I missed that.
There are a lot of kind of watching each
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
in this area.
Mhm.
Though in parts of the country, and I wrote up this
Yeah.
review, there are some townships aggressively pursuing Teslas.
Mm-hmm.
And
I just didn't know
paying for
if we
their
would be the first
upfitting.
in the county, maybe.
We won't be the first. I don't recall the township that is
Oh, okay.
ahead of us, but
One of the
we'll
first.
certainly
then.
be one of the first.
Good.
If they, meet our needs.
Yes.
these
Dan,
vehicles.
do we already have the outlets they need here at the township?
As I understand, the charging stations are
Charging
going to
stations.
be installed pretty soon. And the assumption is they will be installed about the time we get these vehicles to test. Otherwise, we'll be, I don't know, going to the Radnor
Well,
train parking lot.
there
to
are
charge up.
two at the apartment building down the street.
Oh, good.
I'm gonna hazard a guess that if we take on a vehicle, we will figure out where to put the charging
sure.
station.
Pretty quick.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, thanks. So the discussion of the proposed budget, I kind of put this together, and I might right off the bat make the last, well, they're sort of, I thought, in order of priority. The last one, I have some questions about including it for a number of reasons. One is that among us, I think I'm the only one that can do this kind of workshop. But we could easily get someone like from Penn State Extension Master Watershed Program. They would get, you know.
You're talking about the
gra-
macroinvertebrates workshop.
That's the one I'm talking about, the last one, the macroinvertebrates. You know, it does require equipment. We do have equipment, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the meeting, but none of it's very good. And I don't know what, let's start at the top, though. I just wanted to let you know that it's sort of in list of priorities. So the first one for Fall Festival, I think those are pretty necessary. We looked really pathetic at the Fall Festival. And so does anyone have any comments
I
on-
would just encourage us, and this has to do kind of with the last item, is that I think that it would be very impactful to add more to the brochures, posters, promotions, activities part of this budget for the Fall Festival. If that's something we want to continue to do and invest in the setup for it, then we need more than $100 to.
Yeah, well,
have an
we do
activity.
get the color copies free from the township.
But $100 just goes really fast, and if we're gonna
Yeah.
invest $350 in the setup and being there, I think it would behoove us to take $200 more from the microinvertebrate microscopes and put it into the fall
Okay,
festival. That's my commentary.
Okay, the thing is, I'm trying to put down numbers and show what everything's costing.
Sure, but so
Yeah.
let's just make brochures, posters, activities $200 or $300.
Okay, I would, I think I would need, Moira, correct me if I'm wrong, like actual figures, like 200 brochures would be so much money, or don't I need to get that specific? No? Okay, so then, okay, we can add that, and not necessarily take it away.
I can also definitely come up with something if we needed a concrete example.
Yeah, okay. We can easily add that to it.
And I think that, the township sources this type of thing all the time, so they could help you come up with the exact numbers.
Okay. Okay. Any
Like,
oth-
do we know how much the seeds cost for?
I don't know, Carol gave that directly to Melissa for
Okay.
reimbursement. I
Okay.
don't know what that costs.
So like that's,
So that
if
would
we
be
wanted
within
to
the
do that again.
promotions, yeah.
Right, that would be
yeah.
within activities and promotions.
Right,
So we
right.
could use something like that as a placeholder. And, we should try every year to have a better and better exhibit. Maybe we say, $75 or $100 for a local environmentally friendly raffle basket that we're gonna give away. Like, I have a ton of ideas, but I think we should bolster that part of the budget if we're gonna all spend our time going to this event.
I'll add that to it.
You also might want to consider that when you are doing brochures or some sort of promotional giveaway thing, that it's evergreen, right? It's not dated for just the fall festival. And then you can, and then you could use them at more events or.
Right, all of our stuff is evergreen. I like that term. No, we don't have anything special for the fall festival. We just have in this year, we had just a page on the energy rebates, and then we had the yard program, and just our other little our other little information, yeah.
I think next year we can have donated a lot, we can get some giveaways or some, raffle things donated. I mean, make it look like a more interesting table too.
All right, and then the second one I think was very well received, of course. Why wouldn't it be? It's free. was the Earth Day native plant giveaway. We did it with Radnor Conservancy, who's paid half the plants, but they also sprung for the soil and pots. And I have a math error there. It should add up to 880. And I spoke informally with the director of the Radnor Conservancy, and she said she's willing to do it again, but that's, of course, not until April. So I listed prices for doing it ourselves as well, which actually would be $880, not $780. Do you all agree with this on the budget?
I do, I'm in favor.
Okay.
Yeah, I agreed. That was a really popular
Yeah,
event.
and we really got the word out about the yard program at that one.
I think it also aligns with the eco-friendly yard program, right? If we're going
Right,
to,
that's what I-
right,
yeah.
if we're gonna reward people for this, we can
Right.
encourage them to do it, too.
And I thought that one of our spring lecture series could be we could get like from Master Gardeners or something about native plants. So we could
Yeah,
make
that's
that
a great
all
idea.
work together. Yeah. Okay, then the third thing is the yard program. We've given out, given out 16 so far. And so I said 20 for next year, but we might need more, I don't know. And that's an actual figure, because I've been ordering them, the flags and the stands, for 20 of them. So I'll talk about the yard program later. Do you all want to continue that for next year? I mean, we really just got off the ground this year.
I think it's gaining momentum. I'm surprised at 16. I think that's a pretty good number for as little as it has been promoted.
And
So-
it's surprising how many people have seen them. People came up to us at the Fall Festival and said they saw them. I took the liberty to doing this. Somebody from Tredyffrin Township wrote to me, and she said, I'm right on the border. I would like a yard flag. So I'm going to go by actually Saturday morning, and I thought, this is to educate everybody, not just Radnor Township.
We all, I'm sure, drive past it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So they seem amazingly popular. So yeah, I think next year, hopefully we'll get more takers. And then the lecture series, I kind of, maybe more, is $150 a standard honorarium? I kind of just pulled that out of the hat. I wasn't sure.
I think it would depend. One speaker might charge more. Somebody might want to do it pro bono and just volunteer their time. So I think on average, that would be a fair. We're talking about an hour or something of a lecture. It seems like a fair price. But I don't have direct knowledge of what people are charging these days.
Yeah, I've accepted $100. I've accepted $200.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
You also just look at the organization. How much money do they give me? I think that's a fine start for
Okay.
a program. Dan?
So
Margie, speaking of that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dan.
the folks we would be inviting are local experts,
Yeah, I mean,
meaning,
we're not going to fly anyone in or
no,
anything.
but how local is local? Because of all the educational institutions east of us, Penn, and et cetera, have we thought of inviting somebody from those departments?
I think we're just getting off the ground on this one, so
Right.
I don't think there's been a lot of I know there are free ones that we could take advantage of, like I said, Penn State Extension has master watersheds, they have master gardeners, and all of the people that go through that are required to do things, and they do it for free.
Okay, great.
So, yeah, so I think there will be easily free sources as well, so that maybe we get somebody famous and then give them a bigger honorarium.
Well, yeah, it
Yeah,
might really attract attention if we, especially have someone from an esteemed university and department credentials.
right.
Just to get the people to think of coming.
Margie, speaking of that, we need to start looking at dates too. I mean, it's October Sunday, and boom, it's gonna be January in a minute. So can we, how do we get dates?
Well, I got the dates through Melissa. Well, I had proposed some dates and asked her if those would work, and most did not. Because, and it depends where we hold it, because during the week, this room is really booked up in the evening. So, and to hold it like at the Willows, we would, and we could do this, we could put that under the honorarium part. We would have to pay for the room. Weekends, we can get free rooms sometimes in Willows, but then this is a lot more available on weekends.
Yeah, and I personally think weekends are better. You know,
Yeah.
somebody comes for an hour, then they go
Yeah.
on about their Saturday. But, yeah, so should we start asking the township to look ahead and
Yeah,
give us some
we can-
dates?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, because I know two of the people that I think would be great speakers are getting booked up now. They speak at all the arboretums and,
Yeah,
okay.
okay. Anything else on that one? Okay, so, and maybe Emma could help out with this one too. I'm really kind of, I know I came up with it, but I'm kind of in love with this one. A high school one-day workshop, either like at the beginning of the summer or on a weekend, focusing, and I personally know some speakers we could have for this, focusing on environmental careers, volunteer opportunities, and also, you know, on a whole lot of other topics, just informational topics. And, yeah, but you all need to let me know what you think of it. I just think about, you know, I taught at a university for 36 years and was always at the open houses, and though we were a science university, we had not many going into environmental science. And I just think that this could help raise awareness among high school students. What do you think, Emma?
I think there's definitely a limit to a lot of options at the high school right now for learning about anything about environmental science. The only real environmental science that is an option is the AP option, which I think for a lot of students is not maybe of great interest. I think it's a great idea. I think it would definitely be a better idea to do it late May or early June, as we're done with our APs, which is a huge thing, and a lot of students are in the National Honor Society, so there are a lot of students looking for volunteer opportunities, especially around that time before the end of the year, because they have to meet a certain requirement.
Thanks, that's something I didn't know.
As someone who has a bachelor's degree in environmental studies and does not work in environmental science, I think this is a great idea.
Yeah, okay, so we'll leave that one on. And then the last one is the one I'm up in the air about. What are your feelings about this? I mean, we could probably get, even if it's not me, I'm getting kind of old and not so limber. We could get, I know from the master watershed, we could get people to do it, but
Margie, I agree with you. I think it is a lot to spend the money on the microscope and not know that through the membership of the EAC that we would always have somebody that would be able to actually use it appropriately.
That's another issue.
I think the funds would be better spent like hosting someone to come and do it. If we couldn't get someone that would do it for free through Master
Oh, yeah, we
Watershed or
could,
something.
yeah.
But I think there are a lot of options to do that and get a, an educational opportunity. But I think that's a really big investment for something that would be used maybe twice
Right,
a year or
yeah.
something.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We could change this to, hosting this and just have it more on an honorarium. No, even not, that's not necessary if they bring their own equipment.
Right, but if we wanted to use a smaller portion of funds to help provide transportation maybe to the site, or other equipment that students might need that might be more on like the disposable or
Yeah.
individual side, or snacks or something, right, that they need during the time if the school doesn't provide it or something. Or, make it part of a Radnor Township summer camp, right? Something like that, where we might need a little bit of wiggle room with, advertising it or
Right.
something like that.
Archie, could we partner with some group, like, I don't know, Conservation District of Delaware County or Chester County, or I'm
Right, well, that's
completely blanking out, what's the place in Kennett? Big water, I'll think of it.
Yeah, well, that's why I did the Master Watershed Program with Penn State Extension, and that's why I was suggesting them, because they have to do so many projects. Like, that was actually my project, and we had to make, like, specimens, permanent specimens and all kind of things. So, yeah, they would potentially have the equipment, too.
I also wanted to note that we got an email from Melissa a couple
I
of
know, we'll
weeks
discuss
ag-
that then,
Okay,
yeah,
I didn't know if that
yeah.
could apply here
Yeah.
about the environmental
That stuff's
education
really
grant.
bad.
Oh,
Yeah, the microscopes are unusable.
oh, no, I was talking about the DEP environmental
Oh, that, yes,
education
we'll
grant
talk about
option.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of this could
'Cause-
possibly go on.
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's a separate thing. Well, does anyone have any other categories here to add?
I think that this is a lot of programming compared to what we have had since I have been on the EAC. And I think we've done a really good job in the past year and a half or 2 years building up what's here. I think that this is a very good continuance and growth of what we have done this year with no funds, or very
Well, we did
little.
get
that-
reimbursements, yeah.
Yeah, but not a set budget that
Right,
we
right.
could depend on. I would, I think it was a suggestion to have a $2,000 budget.
Well, let me make a comment on that. I learned at the Fall Festival that Shade Tree Commission gets substantially more money than we do, and that they also are allowed to get donations, which I was told we can't. So this is the reason why I'm not being ultra worried about the 2,000 cutoff.
No, makes sense, and that's kind of where I was going. I
Yeah.
think we should bolster some of the other line items, like I said about the activities for the Fall Festival. We can add a little bit more there. We can add more yard program signs.
Okay.
I think we should have a higher goal and push for more advertising and promotion of the programs that we have ongoing. So I think the Fall Festival, the Earth Day, Yard Program, Lecture Series, and the High School Workshop are a good plan, and that we can be more generous with our
Okay.
allocations.
Anyone else? So what I'll do is redo this, and I don't know that we do do we do a formal vote on this? I don't know.
Wouldn't hurt to.
Because Melissa had said we should submit it for the BOC to approve in an October meeting. So I don't really want to wait till the next
Well,
meeting.
let's go through and change the numbers now, and then you can write it up and.
Yeah, I just kind of did it quickly based on what we were talking about. We had discussed adding 200 to the brochures line item at the top, or, you know, that, you know, if we assume 880 for the Earth Day native plants, and if part of that gets covered by Radnor Conservancy, we can buy more plants,
Okay,
right?
right, right. Yeah, because we had a lot of demand.
Yeah, I didn't change the flags. I don't know if we want to do that. The only other thing for sure is, I don't know if we want to take out the workshop or just switch that to an additional honorarium amount. But if we just take that out,
Well, we could, I think we might put that into the application for the grants.
okay.
No, she's just talking about the dollars, Margie. So do
I'm
we
just saying, just looking
redistribute
at the
those
dollars, if we
$700?
keep this as is, but add the 200 to the top, do the 880 for the Earth Day native plant giveaway, and then take out out of this budget, the macroinvertebrates.
Right,
I got 2,500.06.
okay.
So if someone else check my math or tell me if we should add, but I think that
That
sounds
sounds
reasonable
reasonable,
for
yeah.
how much ground it covers here for our programming.
So we would not have any middle school education on macro?
No, it just wouldn't be funded through our budget. It would be funded through free resources through the watershed, or that Margie has talked about, or Eugenia has talked about, several others. We don't think that we need to buy our own supplies to to facilitate the workshop.
Have we reached out to the watershed program teachers to see, yes, okay, so that, you know, they might have equipment or interest that we wouldn't need.
Yeah, they do have some equipment, yeah. I mean, they have nets and I think we used mainly just magnifying glasses. You don't really need microscopes. I mean, I spent my whole life using a microscope, so I was kind of happy to write that in there, but we don't really have to have it. So, you know, you can show other things while you're showing it to the students, like the little protozoa and that, but.
Can we go line by line with numbers, and then we can approve it? Is that
Okay.
okay?
All right.
Okay. So 686 for Fall Festival?
Right.
Right.
Are we doing 880 for
Yes.
this? Okay. 340, should we bump that to 400? And how many yard signs we can get for 400?
So 20 is, let me do a quick thing here. So
$17 each?
17, yeah, that sounds a little, okay. So if we want to add another 10, we can add 170 to that.
Okay.
And that makes.
600
makes,
again.
510.
Yep.
So 686, 880, 510, 600, and 600. Somebody want to add that up?
I got 3278, or 76, sorry.
Okay, 3276.
Wait, what did you say that I got?
3276. Okay, with these changes, that total $3,276, do I have a motion to approve this budget?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so then I'll write this up and I'll send it to you and to Melissa. Moira, do you have any comments?
My only comment is that, please submit it. It's going to be part of our larger budget. It'll just be a line item in the broad
Oh, okay.
budget. So I don't think it won't come to the Board of Commissioners for like a specific vote.
Oh, okay.
It'll just get incorporated
Oh, I
into.
see.
And
Oh, good.
It sounds to me the numbers that you've come up to, if I'm recalling our
Okay,
conversation with the township manager, I think you're well within the
Yeah.
range. And
Okay.
I don't see any problem with it being approved, and it probably won't even be pulled out to discuss
Right.
specifically because it's a low amount. So the process would just be submit it to Melissa, and she'll make sure it gets to the manager and gets worked into the
Okay, great.
budget. But
Thank
you
you.
have my support.
thank you. All right, so our next order of business is other updates. Yeah, just the yard program, we've got giving out 4 more. Oh, the big update with that, and I would maybe like your input as well. Carol had contacted, and she mentioned this in previous meetings, Penn Medicine across the street from the high school. And they apparently have a big, like, natural area, like a meadow type thing. And she said, I haven't seen it myself. She said it's large and very nice. And she contacted, she got a contact there and talked with them if they wanted to display a flag. We would actually give them 2 because it's a larger area. And then we contacted Melissa and Molly, the public relations person, and we're going to make like an event of it. So so she was asking, like, you know, do we want media coverage? How do we want to go about this? It's going to be, and, you know, you're all invited if you can come. It's October 10th at 2 p.m. October 10th at 2 p.m. So Carol will be there, I'll be there, and I don't know who else, obviously Molly, I guess. And, yeah, so does anyone have any specific ideas, or,
We should definitely put it on the Instagram.
okay,
This is the stuff like people want to see, and I know Molly does a really good job with the videos.
yeah,
But I think, like, you know, just a beautiful picture of the yard sign in the Penn Medicine landscaping would be a beautiful addition to our social media presence.
okay. All right,
So this is basically a field that is not being
Um,
treated with any
It's
chemicals?
part of their, you know, they have lawn, but instead of turf, they have this.
It's like native plants and a rocky outcropping and stuff,
Yes, and
right?
you've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like a field or a meadow,
Okay,
you know, because if you drive past the building, it's kind of like up on a hill.
right, I can't see
Yeah.
it. Yeah. I haven't been sick enough to go there yet.
They also have a really nice courtyard that's beautifully done inside the buildings that you look down from all the glass windows, and everything in there is natural. It's very, very pretty, so that's where the other flag
Great.
should go.
Oh,
People sit out there, have lunch.
good
look out.
idea.
Yeah. They've
Good
done it
idea.
really well.
Okay,
Maybe we need a energy conservation flag as well for the building.
oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll look into that.
do you have one of those?
No, we'll make one.
That would be a great idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And then the lecture series, well, I already said about the composting in November, which the date doesn't come to me, although it should.
It's the
I'm-
5th.
Because I'm going to be giving the talk on drawdown, which was a proposal for combating, you know, climate change. It's just an interesting, I've given this lecture now 3 times, an interesting take on climate change. And it was really well received at Tredyffrin Library and the Willows, and I went to a school as well. So I thought I'd do that, just so we have a second talk, so we can call it a series.
When is that? What's the
It's in November, I'll have to give you the exact date.
Also a Zoom?
I didn't decide. It's going to be on a Saturday. I should know that better, but I will look it up and let you know. Yeah. I mean, I'm fine to do it in person or in Zoom. I don't know. We have one more meeting before then, so we can talk about the preference, or, yeah. Oh, by the way, I don't have that date offhand either, but the November, December meeting is together. We only have one meeting, and it's held in November. So check on, it's on the website. Check on the website. Can't believe, oh no, we still have another meeting yet. We still have an October meeting. I was going to say, I can't believe that's coming up already. Okay, so we have time to think about that one. Yeah, that's by the way. So anyway, that's the update on the lecture series. Does anyone have any other updates?
Margie, I guess I'm changing my mind about this potential issue that came up just before a meeting
Okay.
with this property. I'm not going to be specific here, but there is a property on
Okay,
Sawmill.
so I was going to bring that under new business.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
so you think I should bring it up?
Yeah, if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right. We'll get to that then.
Before we get to that, just a short announcement that Radnor is doing a recycling day for electronics, for the record, on Saturday, October 21st, at the Township building, right, no, at the Radnor Financial Center. A little confusing because it says Radnor Township and then Radnor Financial Center, and it is for Township only. This one doesn't say that you do have to pre-register on Eventbrite. So be sure to share that with your community members.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so for old business, I put the scope, we have microscopes which absolutely do not work. It's better just to look with the naked eye. Nets, boots, and buckets in storage here. And Melissa said if we don't have anyone that will take them on, meaning adopt them into their homes, I think, they will be thrown out. Now, I think the scopes need to be thrown out.
Moira looks like she might be confused about.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what equipment you're talking about.
Yeah, so years and years ago, they did a macroinvertebrate event, and I think they got from a grant, and they got nets, of which there seemed to only be 2 left, but I think there used to be more. 4 microscopes, which I've tried every one of them, they are unusable. Boots, like waders, and buckets. And I had the microscopes in my house and the nets for a while. I didn't have the boots and buckets because I got them from the former chair. And then I had said at one time, I have this tiny little house, I don't have room for them, and so Melissa said to bring them here and they'll store them, but now they want to get rid of that, apparently.
I would, if the microscopes don't work, then there's no reason to hold on to
Right.
them. Maybe we could facilitate donating the other supplies to the Conservancy or the Willows, if nobody wants to hold on to them.
Does anyone want to
There's
hold
always
on?
the Darby Creek cleanup every
Yeah.
year. So there may be somebody willing to take boots and buckets because
Okay.
they might need them. So maybe we can think through
All right, that's a good idea.
some places to donate. That's the Darby Creek,
Darby
that-
Creek Valley Association.
that's the one.
It's-
I know they do
never
an
get it
annual
right either.
cleanup.
Yeah,
Yeah, so maybe they've got some place to
yeah.
store.
They do macroinvertebrate workshops, yeah. Okay.
Margie, I'd
So,
like
but
to-
I don't have any offers for taking them in to adopt them.
Well, I'd at least would like to take a look at them.
Okay, you'll have to, would you want to contact Melissa and ask
I'll
to see them?
contact Melissa,
Okay, I'll let Melissa know.
yeah. When you say they're not usable, is it?
Well,
you
the
can't-
scopes aren't because
You
I've,
can't focus them or anything?
there's like I said, I've worked my whole life with microscopes.
Right.
They are not focusable. They just,
Corroded?
they're like toys almost, although they look very robust.
Oh,
The lenses are no good.
oh,
The lenses are no good,
that's too bad.
yeah. Okay. And then, maybe you could determine if you want to take them on or whether we'll donate them, but I wouldn't
Well,
donate
after
the
what you just-
microscopes.
After what you just said.
Okay.
I'll take a pass.
Okay,
Throw the microscopes away, research donating the other things.
okay.
The next item.
All right, anybody else? Okay. So that was our old business. Oh, also, we brought this up before. I haven't gotten really any feedback on this, but Melissa asked if, we want to apply for an education grant, that we should do that soon because she would like it to be voted on in October by the Board of Commissioners. We could move this macroinvertebrate workshop to a grant, but when you read the requirements, or not the requirements, but the suggestions for the grant, they said, first of all, like places that have less money will like, not Radnor Township, in other words, will get priority. And also, people that, groups that are working with other groups will get priority. So, maybe there's something we can arrange with one of the high schools, but I don't know if it's gonna be worth our while. I don't think Radnor Township rates real highly in poverty-stricken areas. Maura, do you have a feel for this?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the grant that Melissa's speaking to you about, but, we do have people in Radnor living below the poverty line, but I would agree with you, we're pretty affluent.
Yeah.
So we may not beat out another, I'm sure it's a competitive grant, so. But they're always worth a shot, and
Yeah, it's true.
good
It's
idea is
worth
a
a
good
try.
idea.
Okay. All right, well, unless somebody else wants to do this, I'll try to work on it, and I'll just send it around. I don't think it needs a vote particularly, and see what you all think. Anybody want to have comment?
I can look at it with you. The environmental justice impact might be more important than our group being in an, if we can, if the project is aimed at combating non-point source pollution in the entire county or something like that, where there are other areas that are environmental justice areas, maybe, I guess it would depend on what kind of education program we were thinking about
Right.
holding.
Okay.
So I can think that through with you. And
Okay.
see if we have something
You
there.
know, thinking about this, we're saying the grant should be for underserved areas, underprivileged areas. But actually, it's the wealthy areas that are taking advantage. I'm thinking of Chester and Covanta, the incinerator. And we are benefiting from their suffering.
Is
their
that what you're
pollution.
thinking too, initially?
So I think it's a little wrong-headed of this organization, this foundation, to target only underprivileged, because they know well what their problem is. We do not know. And so,
So as
I
as
would-
far as educating others, you mean
yes,
then?
I would pursue this vigorously for our township.
I see where
And
you're going
put that
with
in our-
the logic,
Put that in our
Dan.
rationale for approaching the foundation and justifying that we should be educated.
I think there's an angle there that, could be supported after all the, because if our lifestyles and our waste are impacting socioeconomically disadvantaged people than it does in
It's
the
our
end benefit
trash
them.
that's going down
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, well, when I first was chair, I did try to get a resolution passed to get Radnor to declare their zero waste, but that was unanimously voted down. And that was because of Covanta. That was when they started their, you know, really, they got a lawyer in really concerted effort
Right.
to, it was at the time when they were considering renewing the Delaware County was considering renewing the
Right.
waste contract with Covanta.
But nobody can stop us from educating
Right,
the
right,
community
yeah,
about
yeah.
this. And raising it maybe for the first time in their minds. So
Margie, how much money are we talking about?
I
What
have no
size is
idea.
the grant?
I think Melissa said that we would be looking at a mini grant,
Oh,
which
the
is
mini-
$5,000.
yeah, the mini
So
grants,
it's
yeah.
not a ton of money.
Yeah.
And it does say, yeah, with regard to EJ or environmental justice, it says funding priority is giving to environmental education projects that engage people living, working, and/or attending school within environmental justice areas and topics related to climate change and/or water.
Right.
Right.
So I mean, I think there's an opportunity. I don't know that we have enough time to, I mean, if
Yeah.
we're thinking of like a whole new kind of project, I don't know that we'd be able to think it all through in
Right,
time, but.
right.
But it says that they would be open to using already pre-prepared lecture series or content. Now, whether that means the presenters as well, I don't know. But I'd be willing to work with you on this to look further into this.
Yeah.
Because I think this is where, this township like ours is where it needs to be spent.
Yeah, and maybe in partnership with folks living in Chester. I don't know if there are
Oh, yeah.
groups that would maybe want to partner, but that would be a thing for us to do, is to reach out and see if there's groups already
I do have,
there that would want to come and,
right, I do have a
engage with us.
contact with one person down there, so
great. All right,
we
let's,
could look into this.
yeah,
Great, thanks, Lisa.
Yeah,
I'm sure Melissa has looked at the criteria, but I heard you say environmental justice area. So it may have some, parameters about what qualifies for that.
Oh, yes, no,
Chester definitely.
but I
Near
think
the
we should
Kodak.
educate them as well, the foundation, even if we don't get the grant.
So you're
They need-
saying just applying
Yeah,
is
let's
worth
just,
it
you know,
to raise the
It's
issue?
kind of a learning moment.
Dan's a real guerrilla activist out here.
Yeah.
I like it.
Dan, did you want to, maybe you and Lisa and I meet about this?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do that.
All right, so, another new business is, there have been a flurry of emails coming from various sources, which I can't even separate right now, from Newtown Township. And they're having a meeting about it as we speak. They asked if we'd attend, but I said we had our own meeting today, about a property where they're proposing to tear one house down and build three, which would require them to make the riparian, there, the creek, part of the creek goes through, it's, I guess, part of the Darby Creek, to make the riparian buffer smaller. So they're required to have a 25-foot riparian buffer, and apparently, if they were to build these three houses, they'd have to cut back on that, although I got no specifics as to how much. And whether we would come to the meeting, which we couldn't, and support this because some of this water flows and the drainage as well affects Radnor Township because it's right on the border. And then someone wrote in the email thing that it's in Radnor Township, but it must
Well,
not be.
That's my error because they put down the wrong house number.
Oh,
The house
okay.
number is.
Okay, that was
actually has
very
4
hard to follow.
digits, not 3 digits, so it's clearly a new town.
Yeah,
It is
so-
on a stream, a primary stream that drains into Darby Creek in Skunk Hollow.
Okay,
So that, and it's apparently in a flood-prone area.
okay. I mean, it certainly sounds like something we can support, but if the township actually has an ordinance saying it has to be 25 feet, I'm not sure they're going to get very far anyway with that. But if they do,
They make, townships make exceptions for those
oh, I
things all
know,
the
I
time.
know. But since we're not there today to speak up, I mean, I was thinking we could at least write a letter in support, if you're all okay with that. It doesn't sound like even if it didn't drain into our township or anything, it sounds like not a good thing to be reducing the riparian buffer.
I'd be in support of drafting a letter and just reviewing
Okay.
it before we
All right.
send it off.
I have, one thing I can add is that our township engineer did email some Newtown staff members, and I think also CC'd one of the members of the Environmental Advisory Council there. Very delicately, we can't get into their business. We don't want them in ours. That's why we have municipal lines, is that, we make decisions for our township, and as do they. But of course, in a very generous way, did speak to 3 issues. One was steep slopes, which both townships have criteria around not disturbing natural slopes for aesthetic and environmental reasons. The riparian buffer, of course, he extolled the virtues of having a lot of buffer, and then the wetlands. So it's not a full wetland, but there's enough streams that it might, depending on how the development plans were drawn, it might sort of encroach upon that. So just in a collegial way, our township engineer has reached out to them to provide some thoughts. I'll put it that way. So yeah, we've been alerted, and I appreciate those on the environment. Your colleagues over in Newtown Square were good to reach out to us. It's very close to our Skunk Hollow. A lot of residents kind of walk and are in that area. So as a commissioner, I know that we would hear a lot about that development from our residents and visitors who use our public land, which is very close by.
Yeah, I first found out about it through Mary Coe and Howard Holden of the Willows Park group.
Do we know what the riparian buffer is in Radnor Township? Is it also maybe 25 feet? We don't know.
I don't know.
Just curious.
I think typically it's at 50, but it depends on zoning areas, I think. So I can't speak directly to this. If it was on the other side of the line, I'm not sure what it would be.
I think we would write our letter to the Newtown EAC, not to the township itself,
Right.
and say that we support their efforts in it as EAC to EAC, not to step on township toes and
Right.
stuff. I would be in support of writing a letter in support of their concerns.
Do you think that's enough? I mean, we
I
can
think
say
that's
whatever.
appropriate.
We're not like elected, we're not elected officials.
Yeah, but we still represent the township, and I think that is what is appropriate for us to do.
Okay.
And I'm going to suggest that it gets some review from our township, at least run it by Melissa before it goes. She'd be able to opine on that for you.
it may be a moot point, hopefully, is, they will find out if they voted it down.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And I do have a second piece of new business I'd like to bring up. And I'd like to know if you would want to pursue this. This could potentially be like a big thing that probably would get voted down, but whether pursuing it just as a letter, a resolution, or even an ordinance, which is unlikely. Anyway, for this second house now in my block has been purchased, and these are little semi-historic houses built from Sears kits back in the 1920s. And anyway, second one to be totally demolished, and a new house built, just one. So it's not adding to, I know we do need housing all over this area, so it's not adding to new housing. It's just demolishing the perfectly livable house and building a new one. And what triggered my thought to bring this up was I spoke with the people that bought this, and the house is now being constructed. He was very proud of the fact that they're going to have solar panels and a bunch of other things that will make it a near net zero house, which he very, very, very proud of. And I thought, well, that's great. But then I thought the environmental impact of demolishing a house without salvage, putting all that in a landfill, then all of those new materials, the woods, the plastics, and the energy, the cranes and the bulldozers, and I thought it's going to take them 30 years to make up for that environmental impact. So I don't know if we could have some kind of input about tearing one house down to build a new one, just one new one. Yeah, what do you all think?
I think that, certainly what you're saying is valid, but to me, what is almost sadder is that that wonderful street of Sears kit houses, which are historical, are going, and these
Yeah, there's that
McMansions
too.
are going up.
But I was just thinking the environmental impact of just because they want a fancier house, I don't know.
They have the right, though. I think that's pretty hard.
Yeah, I think that it would
Yeah.
be more
From a historical.
effective maybe to concentrate on requirements for new builds that I think this EAC has talked about previously, and what the township would be in support of a requiring of new builds or requiring of contractors when they dispose of things.
Right.
But you're never going to stop people from building brand new houses on the main line.
Industry is obligated to write up an environmental impact statement for certain projects or levels of manufacturing, for example, and maybe even expansions. It would be revolutionary to ask a private contractor to write up a environmental impact statement, but that's basically what you're talking about.
Well, I was sort of talking about not building a new one at all.
Right. But it should be part of the zoning process or the permitting process.
So this might be an opportunity for me to plug a part of the comprehensive planning public outreach. So I'm agreeing, there are private owner rights, there are codes about how to build, and there's something called by right. So if you meet all of the requirements of the code, you can take down a house and put up another one without having to come for any waiver or permission. So there are a lot of things that, if you're following the letter of the ordinance and codes, there is no review. But we are in a comprehensive planning process now to look out for the next 10 plus years about the vision of our community. And one of the ways that we are seeking input from the community is through a survey. We'll be announcing it. It's live now. I think they were at the Fall Festival promoting it, but we're going to really push this out. We're hoping to get thousands of our community members to tell us what's most on their mind. So I'm gonna plug that opportunity to make voices heard, because what we hear from the community about what people are allowed to do on their property and what we need to do to our codes to make sure that we are looking for the future and the vision of our community to maintain, aesthetically. I know your block, and I love those little houses, but, we don't kind of spot zone for a particular type of house. We don't have a broad historic preservation ordinance because we don't, outside of, the Wayne area, we don't have one location where we have all of the historic houses. So there are things that are really important to people that our current codes can't address, and this is an opportunity to be heard. So that will be posted all over our website. There will be a lot of different ways to get that information out. Maybe you as the EAC can push it out as well to get people who think about environmental causes, building, housing, infrastructure, all of these things that touch our climate and our environment are going to be looked at, and hopefully we can start crafting our ordinances to represent the values of our community.
Margie, just out of curiosity, all these houses obviously increasing or doubling the footprint, so or are they just getting taller?
Both.
Okay.
They do have to, there is in the zoning ordinance
Yeah.
a maximum amount, and they go right to the max, 1
Yeah.
foot less.
Yeah.
This one is not like huge, but I think it's gone to the maximum of its allowance.
Yeah.
It was just, it just seemed to me to make absolutely no sense, and it seemed like such an environmental disaster, but,
Moira, can you repeat the name of the project or the survey?
Sure. So we've engaged a consultant, and we've have a steering committee, and now we're at the stage where we're going broad and getting input on comprehensive planning. So there is a website called I think it's Radnor Vision for. I should have had this information at my fingertips before I started talking about it. But
Okay.
there is a dedicated website, but the Radnor website holds information about how to participate, and I think the communications have just been approved like today. So we're going to be e-blasting out and posting on the website. There will be a lot of different ways to learn about it, and it will be easy to find. I just at my fingertips don't have the
That's okay. I just
the
didn't
exact
have
address.
comprehensive planning.
Comprehensive plan.
and,
Okay.
well, I was invited to, I guess it was back in the spring, to be part of a large group that, of different environmental, yeah, you were there, weren't you, Dan? Yeah. Groups, to give some input. Of course, I didn't have this to say because I didn't think of it then. So I more or less just, spoke about other things we've spoken about. But, yeah, so we did have a say on that, but I think each individual, should contribute too. Anything else on that?
And I have it now. So it's radnor2035.com. So this is, we're calling it a vision for Radnor 2035, Together for Our Future. And on it, you can participate in a virtual community workshop. So it's radnor2035.com. We'll tell you what the comprehensive plan is intended to do, a little bit more information about the process, but I'm highlighting this. They're calling it a virtual community workshop. It's a 15-minute questionnaire, a lot of open space for you to just type in things that you're concerned about, what you like, what you don't like. And I think we're going to get a lot of great information, and I encourage as many people as we can get to let us know what you're thinking.
Okay, thanks.
Just on the building point for a second, we could be a resource as the EAC for, if we round up some good educational materials that we can have on hand on the website, for folks who, I agree, I don't think we're going to stop a lot of people who have a plan for what they want to do, but if we have information available about ways to reduce the environmental impacts of your home and the pros and cons of building a new house versus keeping and updating an existing home, I think that would be a really good role that we can play so that we can provide that information to folks so they can make better environmental choices.
Agree. Anything else? Okay, so we have no public. So then I will adjourn the meeting. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.